Hi, and welcome to Screens in Focus podcast, where we share and connect as we spotlight our favorite shows and movies. I'm Diana, and today we're talking about The Handmaid's Tale Season 5 and Love is Blind Season 3. Jenn Trepeck is back. She is the host of Salad with a Side of Fries podcast that talks about wellness and weight loss for real life. Hi, Jenn. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm so excited to talk about all this stuff today.
I know. Ooh, we get to talk about two shows that have been on our minds. So it's going to be amazing. So we're going to talk about The Handmaid's Tale, and we're going to go into episode 1 just to start us off, and then dig in a little bit to the characters and the relationships and how they evolved. And then we'll touch upon episode 10 and what we saw there. So I'm really excited about that. And then we'll go into Love is Blind.
Okay, cool.
So at the end of season 4, the finale, we saw Nick Blaine and Mark Tuello trade Commander Waterford in exchange for the imprisoned Gilead rebels. And they left him out in the woods, and he was hunted by June and the ex-handmaids. And so then in season 5, episode 1, we see that next morning, and we see June covered in blood and the aftermath of her actions and her state of mind. And so June is faced with the consequences of killing Fred Waterford, and Serena learns of his death as Gilead influence expands into Canada. So tell me, I want to know, what did you think of this first episode? What stood out to you?
Yeah, well, it's so funny because it was like, she had just killed this guy, but there was this euphoric state to things, and then, of course, she's sort of knocked out of that. And I think waiting for the punishment to come and sort of internally grappling with like what she's expecting. Yeah. And then there's nothing or next to nothing. Right? I think she had to pay like a nominal fine. And it's sort of like, wait, that's it? How can that be it? And so I sort of think on the one hand, there's this relief. And on the other hand, it's probably got to be like waiting for the other shoe to drop the entire time.
Yeah.
And then the other thing with Serena, right, it wasn't, remind me, you probably remember this better than I do, but like, isn't this when we saw Serena like pregnant and like doing yoga in her like glass cell where she was like imprisoned and then they tell her?
It could have been. I don't recall either. It might have been.
Yeah.
I just remember her reaction and all of that, but I don't remember if it was the whole, I'm sure it was, right?
Yeah.
Because we want to see that transition of her, what she thinks her life is like and is going to be.
Exactly. And I think it's also interesting how sort of like the U.S., I also get very confused, admittedly, between like the U.S. government and the Canadian government and what's happening sometimes and who's where.
Well, and how Truello has as much power as he does.
Right.
I just find that very interesting because
he works for the U.S. government.
Exactly. So couldn't they just pull the rug out underneath them and say, no, you have no more power. You have no more say. I don't know. But I know they're trying to keep the peace, I guess. But what for? Because I don't know. It's all very interesting how that works.
Yeah, exactly. But I do remember, too, from this beginning episode, when Serena leaves after, like, didn't she had to, like, go to the morgue. She had to, like, I don't know if it was, like, identify Fred or whatever. And so there was a candlelight vigil. And it's so interesting, like, how many people there are there who in Canada who are following or interested in Gilead or the Waterfords or, like that whole story.
Right.
I don't know.
It's kind of reminiscent of our world, right?
The whole season was like so on the nose, It was like,
I know. That's why it's kind of scary because you see what's happening here and you think, oh gosh, because when you first watch it, you think, oh, this could never happen. This could never happen. But you see these similarities in thinking, and it's scary to think, right? Because you think, oh, that could never happen. But then you're like, oh my God, it could happen, because you have these people follow certain ideas and people and leaders.
Well, and it's more that they believe that you need to believe what they do, right? And forcing people into these roles, in whether it's in a specific home or in a society, and then what it takes to create that and maintain that, like it's, I mean, we see it all. Granted, this is fictitious, but it's not as far off as it was, or it seemed when I read the book when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Granted, we're so far beyond the book, but it's a little eerie.
It is. It's very eerie.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then I mean, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but I think even in what happens with Serena and sort of this like role reversal between her and June this whole season.
I loved seeing that.
Yeah.
I thought that's what the whole season is about.
Yep.
That I love. So yeah, we're going to get into that a little bit further. But I want to say in this episode, it was so interesting to see June on this adrenaline high after what she has done, and Luke and Moira having these concerns about her. But I think also she has her concerns herself, right? Because she's not sure what she's capable of after doing this, because she feels so, like I said, on this high. It's like the look, she's got this crazed look in her face. And so you're like, oh my God, what are you going to do next? And Moira is concerned for the baby, and them being citizens here in Canada. And Luke is also concerned about the same thing. And also, I think he's trying to figure out their relationship, because they were having a kind of a rocky road in season 4. And I loved seeing in season 5, there's a lot of their relationship and, how it's progressing and evolving. So I was really, again, we'll get into a little bit of that too. And it was interesting to see Serena when she learns of her husband's demise and how she learns about it. And that, it was so important to June for Serena to know that she was the one, leading this, and, to send that finger.
Yeah.
With the ring on it.
Yeah.
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 So, and that June is not going to face any charges. Of course, we're all thrilled, right? We're like, yeah, she doesn't deserve to, after she's already been in hell. She's already been in prison. It's like, she doesn't need any more. This is backwards. She's already served her sentence.
Well, and it's so interesting too. Like, I just put it together in my head as you were saying, like with the finger, and the fact that like June needed Serena to know. It was like this symbolism or whatever symbol of like, June is not powerless, no matter what you've done to her, what you think about her, Yeah. Who is actually powerless in this whole situation?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Whew. Okay. And then, of course, June is still fighting to get Hannah. That is also underlying in all of these seasons, and it's still there. So let's talk about the characters, the relationships, and how they evolve through the season.
Okay.
And we do see June and Serena seem to be playing this cat and mouse. And so what moment stood out to you about them?
I mean, it was I feel like overall, like the key thing to me, whether it was when June in these moments has the opportunity to do something to Serena and doesn't, or then in other moments, Serena has the opportunity to do something to June and doesn't.
Right.
That there is a piece of them that sees the humanity in the other, and they each need each other in different ways. Like, well, maybe this season Serena needed June more, but like, in all these, like when Serena ended up shooting the guard guy instead of June. Yeah. And then the two of them escape because Serena's about to have this baby. Mm-hmm. And June is like the midwife, right? Like teaching her how to have a baby. And all of these things. It's so interesting to me because it's like the role reversal, the irony of it, survival instinct, but also the fact that like in Gilead, Serena was like on this pedestal and June was, the low person on the totem pole.
Right.
And yet outside of that environment, who actually has the skills to survive? It's not the one who is on the pedestal.
Yeah.
And it's all of a sudden Serena needs everything that June knows.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, that in the hospital, when she ends up in the house with this other family and June's basically teaching her how to be a handmaid, it was like, I don't even know what the word is, but I loved it in the moment and everything about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love all those moments too. It was really interesting in the first couple of episodes with Serena. She thought she had the upper hand, right?
Yep.
She thought she's still in control, and she goes back to Gilead because she wants her husband to have the proper funeral because she says he was really important, and she gets it, which is kind of surprising. And it becomes this huge event. You have all these people marching together, and it was huge. It felt like some royal wedding, I guess,
totally.
funeral.
Yeah.
And we see all of this, and it's interesting because at that point, Serena knows what to do to enrage June because she's like, oh, you just killed my husband. I'm going to get back at you. I'm going to show you. And she's having this funeral, and they also show how June and Luke, they go to a ballet. They're enjoying their time together. You finally see the first time that they seem to cut loose a little bit and feel a little bit relaxed, a little bit comfortable with each other and their environment. June is wearing all white. Serena is wearing all black.
Yep.
They go out and they see that screen and they can see that this is televised, and their faces. Oh my gosh. It was such a good shot. And what do you see but Serena? She has incorporated Hannah into this whole funeral and touches her, kisses her, does something with her, acknowledges her in some way. Just, she's like, I got to put this in there and it's going to be televised and June's going to see it. And that's exactly what happens. And June's face is like, oh my God, I'm going to kill you. Right. Because that's her next step. So I just love this whole season. I just love how they do that. And I loved seeing these women because you're right. They are both tested. And thank goodness for both of them, their humanity always wins out in each situation that they're in. Oh, and then Serena, I'm sorry, back to that point, but Serena gives that little slight half grin that she does. Oh my God, it's so like evil. I'm like, oh my God, you're so bad. But then they send Serena back to Canada, and that's when everything starts to spiral for her in a downward motion. And then you were talking about how at the gunpoint between them, that was a really, I knew that was going to happen, right? Didn't you think that was going to happen? You're
but
like,
even before that, like to your point of, when Gilead sends Serena back to Canada, it's like, you are now not the picture perfect situation. We have no use for you anymore. You hurt this mission and now you need to go over there, which is also a hard pill to swallow for somebody who thinks they are the, epitome of Gilead.
Yeah.
How quickly things change.
Exactly. Because you don't know, you have no control. She keeps losing more and more of her control.
Yep.
And I think you had mentioned about June being the midwife and taking care of her. And, she keeps going back and forth because she's going to get in the car and she's going to leave. And then she doesn't. She comes back because she's thinking of the baby actually at the moment, right? This baby deserves a chance. And I really think that birth scene was a pivotal moment for the both of them. And I had heard them say that, and I didn't notice it the first time, but I had heard them say that moment, the actress who plays Serena said that she really wanted them to connect physically. And so you see June holding her as she's, bearing down, pushing the baby out. And so I thought, wow, I didn't realize that they were actually like sort of not embracing, but really touching each other, really, I guess embracing each other in a way as she's giving birth. So I don't know. And then actually, if you think about it, seeing a baby being born, that's huge. So I'm sure June was impacted. Oh, here's a baby. And then of course, Serena's like, okay, now take my baby and run because I don't want this baby I want the baby to have the best chance that it does have. And then that is when June says, no, the baby needs its mother. That's what's important. And she's trying to let her know, see, just like I needed my babies, the baby needs you and you need your baby. So I just thought that was just a really bonding moment for them. And then, of course, we see when Luke and everybody is back at the hospital because they finally get back to Canada. And then Luke wants June to see that they're taking her baby away. And now that Serena's like, okay, I'm going to be the mom. And they're like, oh my God, they're taking my baby, which is exactly what June felt. And that's what Luke wanted for June. But I don't know how June was feeling at that moment because of what she had been through and had just told Serena.
Right. I felt like June was so mad at Luke for calling the police and I felt like June brought Serena to the hospital as like a safe place and like the way for her to stay with her baby.
Yeah.
And Luke messed that up.
It was hard to tell from her expression, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because at first I think she was like, no, no, no. But then she kind of gives this face like I wasn't sure how she was feeling. I'm like, wait, I don't know. Maybe she had mixed emotions.
Probably.
Maybe that's why I had them too. Because I think you're right. It was mixed emotion. She was trying to help her. And then this happens.
Yeah.
So, okay. So as you talk about that, let's talk about June's relationships with Nick or Luke. What did you see there or what was important to you?
It's so interesting. I'm like, I go back and forth on her and Luke, right? And I think that's partly their intention. And I can appreciate that Luke has a hard time understanding June because he didn't go through what she went through.
Yeah.
And so I think there's so many mixed emotions there. So I sort of feel that tension and that confusion in that relationship. And then I love her and Nick. I don't know why I love Nick so much. I just feel like, we'll probably get to this, but I wanted it to be him at the end on the train. I don't know. There's something so real there that it's like no matter – it's almost again, it's like we're juxtaposed between these two relationships because Luke not knowing what happened there, it pulls them apart. And they're trying to put this life back together. And it's almost like because Nick was there and Nick knows, and they survived this thing together, it almost doesn't matter what happens since then because that was so defining.
I have mixed feelings too. I get it. I do. It's so hard because I feel her chemistry, of course, with Nick. It's very passionate between them. And I think I may have mentioned this the last time we talked in last season, but is it passionate though because they can't be together? Or is it passionate just because that's the type of relationship they have? I'm not really sure. Or because like you said, they have shared this whole experience together and that brings you together. But I was really happy though to see her and Luke sort of flourish in this season. I really do because I was feeling a distance from him. I was feeling a disconnect between them. But now that I see Luke in a different light, I really like him a lot. And I really do like him for her. And I feel like they have a chemistry now. I was feeling it for them. And
I liked that he was joining her on these crusades this season, for lack of a better term. Like all the other seasons, she's doing it alone.
Yeah.
And this time he was in it with her.
Yes. Yes. Also, I may have mentioned this last season too, but he loves the baby.
Yes.
And the baby's not his.
I know.
But he loves that baby. So to me, that is a really big sign of a person to me. It just is. And so it makes me, and just like Nick is looking out for Hannah, and that's not his baby either. Of course, it is June's. But so I just like that these men are taking care of other children.
Wait, on a separate note, did you watch what was the show? The First Ladies show, the one with Michelle Obama and Nancy.
I didn't.
Okay, so the actor who plays Luke plays Barack Obama in that show.
Oh.
So there were a few times this season where I was like, oh, that was the Obama voice. I was like, there were a few times this season where I was like, oh.
Do you know that both of them have accents? I don't know if they're British or not, both Nick and Luke. I had no idea.
I don't know if I knew that.
I thought that Luke was American, and he's not. They both have accents. I saw them on something else. I'm like, oh, they both have accents.
So talented.
They're doing American. I know, right? I love that. Oh, but between Luke and June, and it was in episode 4, and June was about to pull that gun, but she holds back, and then they get in the car and they have the conversation, and she says, you stopped me this time or whatever it was, but you may not be able to stop me next time. I don't know, but she was being so honest with him, and he was really feeling her and supporting her. And I'm pretty sure that was the night they went home and they had sex.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I felt that connection between them, and I appreciated seeing them. And just like you said, it's like he's participating in these crusades with her. And then they get to the part where they do want to look for Hannah. And he says, I'm going to go look for her. And June looks at him and she's all, yeah, I'm going to. And so then they go on that expedition of looking for Hannah, and they're at the bowling alley, and then they escape that. But then also throughout this whole season, it's like we see them together, we see them apart, we see them together, we see them apart. It's like something keeps taking them away from each other.
I know.
Just like in season 1 when they were pulled apart. So I just want them to be together. But then, of course, like you said, you want her to be with Nick too.
I know.
It's just so hard. It's so hard. I don't know where she'll end up or how, this will happen. Maybe one of them will end up dying. I hate saying that, but I don't know. It's just, I don't know what's going to happen. You just don't know, because who knows what's going to happen now. So let's get into Gilead's influence in Canada. Do you have any thoughts about that?
It's so confusing to me. And then again, it's so much like modern day, because you have these people who are living in this other country who are sort of adopting or trying to live by those same principles, right? But not living in that world, like trying to do that within or under, typical Canadian law and life. And then it was also so interesting, even between the US and Canada, and people being so upset, like the Canadians being so upset that all these refugees are there. It's like all these things that were so on the nose of the current moment.
Yeah.
It highlighted, I think, how complex it is. And even looking at Tuello, and we never really see much of the Canadian government these days.
No, you're right.
But the challenge of even what Tuello can do and what he can't do is also an interesting element of understanding what happens between countries theoretically. But the other side of it is like Gilead it's operating like its own country, but I don't think it actually is its own country. And so there's a piece of that that's still sort of lingering from a couple seasons ago that I'm like, I don't understand. How can this actually happen?
Yeah.
Maybe my brain doesn't want to believe that it's true. And so.
Yeah. It's so funny. There are some parallels to what's happening on The Walking Dead. As we're talking about it, it just reminds me a little bit of it because there's this community of thousands of, I can't remember right now. Is it 50? No, it's more than that. Anyway, there's just these communities, of taking control over other people. And then you have these rebels who are trying to survive and do what's right. So anyway, when you were talking, it just reminded me of that. And thinking that not everybody agrees with what the power is.
Right.
Which is what is happening. I don't know. It's so very interesting. And then we had mentioned, Serena going back to Canada. But while she's in Canada, we do see the growing numbers of people that do want to follow her, or not just her, but Gilead and their beliefs, which is partially the Wheelers who live there.
Which is also, they're such a strange thing to me because it's like, it's almost confusing because I think the Wheelers put her on a pedestal and yet are treating her like a handmaid.
Yes.
And so it's a really odd, I don't know.
It's warped because the Wheelers, the wife, man, she's, I don't know. She's totally, like Serena was in a way, right? And so, except for Mrs. Wheeler doesn't have any redeeming qualities at all. I mean, with Serena, you would see these tiny little glimpses of it, show up every now and then. But Wheeler is just like, no, she's just taken the power over her. And you see that Serena is feeling oppressed. And of course, little by little, they take her phone away. They don't let her out of the house. They tell her what she can do and not do. She feels like a prisoner. And it's just so interesting and how she doesn't want to be in the house. And then was it June that told her, but your baby's there or so? Yeah.
Yes.
And, you need to be near your baby and this is what you need to do. So.
And there was a line that June said of like, you stay there. And you do the things and you keep your mouth shut. And all the while, you plot your revenge or you plot your escape or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yes, like the perfect line. But it's so interesting, right? Like that's also how you survive is making these mental plans and knowing,
exactly. Yeah, you do. And then she escapes. She's able to escape. And also we see that the anti-refuge sentiment in Canada is changing. Of course, they don't want them there.
Right.
And they all, June and Luke and Moira see it growing too. And mostly it is against June, which is odd.
Well, so I feel like I missed something. In like, why is all of this anti-refugee sentiment geared directly toward her?
I think it must probably be the Gilead people, right? I think probably all of Canada doesn't want U.S. people there. But I think that the people that are causing the most disruption happen to be Gilead followers. That's just my guess as to what it is. Or they're told to do certain things by Lawrence, maybe. I don't know, which we're going to get into him in a few minutes, or we could talk about him now, actually. I don't know, but I have such mixed feelings about him. I thought, wait, didn't you help June escape and help these kids get out? I am so confused on you. I know you started this, and then also that Bethlehem thing, but then did you send these attacks on June?
I think he didn't send them, but he also didn't stop them.
Yeah.
Like, I think other commanders.
Like that other guy, I don't know his name, that one that's always right in the background.
Right.
Oh, I want to slap. I don't know his name. I don't know his name.
But I think some of these other commanders are doing things, and in an effort to not be so obvious, Lawrence has to let them continue on with those things. He can't stop everything.
True. I know, because he's trying his darndest, but then he does get mad when June or the United States sends in those helicopters, or is it helicopters or whatever it is, the troops to go try and get Hannah. He does get pissed about that. So, I'm like, I don't know about you, which is good, right? We love when we can't really figure people out. We love it when.
And I think maybe that's why we like Nick too, because Nick sometimes has these moments of, I'm not leaving here. Like, I might agree with you, but I'm also not leaving the world where I feel safe. I don't know.
Because, okay, again, I'm jumping ahead. I'm jumping into episode 10. So we're going to
let's just do it.
We're going to go into episode 10, which is safe. And we see so many life-changing events happen with all of our characters. June and Luke decide it's time to get out of Dodge. Nick makes a stance that affects all of his relationships. Serena's on the run. Lawrence, Truello, Aunt Lydia, Janine all come to a realization that changes their trajectories. And I do want to say, when I watched the episode, I didn't even know it was the season finale. I just watched it. I just thought it was this great episode.
Wait, you didn't realize it was the season finale? I thought it was the series finale. And I was like, this is how they're leaving the whole thing?
Oh my gosh.
Like, what?
So funny. So then I had to replay it in my brain. I'm like, oh my God, because I thought it was a great episode. I'm like, this is so good. But I thought I was going to get another one and I didn't. But I would have been, oh my gosh, if I was, at least I knew I thought there was going to be more, which there are going to be more. But if I was you, I would have been like mad. I would have been like, no, you can't end like this. What's going on?
Literally, that was my thought. I didn't realize until yesterday that there was going to be a season 6.
Good. I'm so glad I'm glad you're confirming that. I just assumed. But I do want to say the whole running over thing, I actually thought it was a dream because I couldn't believe it was happening. Like when her eyes opened up when she was underneath the truck, I thought, oh, she's waking up from a dream and thinking that this happened. And they're like, no, it's all back and trying to back up over her again. I'm like, oh my God, this is, and then seeing her arm ran over.
I literally cringed and like my whole body crumbled in pain watching it. Like even thinking about it now, my whole body is responding. Yes. Like it was brutal.
100%. It was really, and it was also a beautiful episode. And there were so many moments in there that were just, because I watched it again and it was just the lighting, how they did it. I loved how they had June look at the street. Okay. Side note. What was she doing in the street when her sidewalk was right there? And why did Truello park his car way over on the side when there was parking in front of her house? So I'm like, this.
I said the same thing. There were so many things that were very weird. And then, okay, remember the episode before ended where there was like the vigil and then there were shots fired at the vigil.
Yeah.
And June sort of protects this little girl.
Right.
Then the next episode opens and she's doing whatever. Is it gardening? Did she bury that little girl in her backyard? I was like, what is happening?
It did look like a
plot size.
Yeah, plot. Yeah.
It was like a plot size garden shaped situation. And I was like, what? So also my head was trying to figure that out as she's then walking randomly in the middle of the street. And then the truck. And then I couldn't decide if I would have rather known the person who was driving the truck. Like if we had seen that person before, or does it say more that it was an unknown quantity? I don't know.
I like it like that. Yeah, I like that it was somebody we didn't know. I don't know. But I didn't know it was Luke. That was, at first I just thought it was a neighbor running out to defend her or whatever it was. But then you see it was Luke. And saving her, which was, I'm so glad he was there and it was home and it was close to her house. But Elizabeth Moss directed this episode, which was very cool. And I know she's directed before, but I just thought it was so good. And, on the train at the end, seeing those two mothers survive with their babies, I just thought it was a really cool episode. I don't know. What else did you think about this episode?
So it was funny. Like, I liked the whole episode. I thought they did a phenomenal job. There were a few things that really struck me. So I said this before. I wanted it to be Nick somewhere on the train. I didn't want her to be alone again. I didn't, something about Nick and their baby. And, then it was Serena and like I was happy and frustrated at the same time, It also struck me a little bit. Remember when we talked about This Is Us? And the end of that show was on this train. I was like,
yes.
That's interesting. But the other thing I sort of struggled with, and again, here's where I'm sort of confused between the US government and the Canadian government, right? But like, so Nick beats up the guy who runs over her with the car. The guy happens to die.
Right.
And now Nick has all of these consequences. Like the whole country is looking for him.
Luke.
Or sorry, yeah, that's what I meant. Luke. Right? The whole country is looking for him after Luke beats up the guy driving the truck. Sorry.
Right.
But going back to the beginning of this season, June murders Fred and it's an $88 fine. So there's something very confusing to me.
Well, I guess, yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. But Fred was not a Canadian
citizen.
For one.
Right.
Citizen. He was a United States citizen and he did bad things. So they're like, okay, we don't really care about him.
Right.
And so June gets a free pass. And then because this person is a Canadian citizen and Luke is an American citizen, here
right.
running off. But I also do think it's still extreme because this guy was running over his wife.
Right.
So
well, I have to think like next, now that I know there will be a next season.
Yes. Yes. So we're hoping that will play out in his favor, right? That it'll be, he'll have a lawyer or something. I don't know. Hopefully it won't play out like it did on The Walking Dead because there was a sham of a courtroom thing there that was just swayed completely one way.
Out of curiosity, where is this train heading to?
Oh, it's so interesting you say that. I thought the same thing. He said west, and originally they were going to eventually go to Hawaii. I don't know why. Why would you want to be
You're not getting there on a train.
I know, right? But I don't know exactly. He just said west, and I don't know if they left it vague on purpose or, where. I don't know. Where are they going? Are they coming to California? I don't know.
Maybe.
Who's to say? I don't know where they're going. So, but Canada is no longer safe. Did you see all those people? That's a lot of people to be traveling, to be discarded and, just get out of here.
Yep.
But
I'm also sort of curious, like, what's going to happen next? Like, are June and Serena going to end up sort of locking arms for survival wherever they get off the train? Or are we going to watch them sort of live these parallel lives both in this new place? But I don't know. I could see it going either way.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to lock arms, but I feel as though they're going to be connected somehow. It's so hard to say. I think they're going to have to rely on each other because we don't know where they're going to go. I don't think it's going to be easy for either one of them. So they're going to have to rely on each other. So I think it'll be the both of them.
Yeah.
I think it'll be how they survive together. Because it'll be really good to see these two women who have been, I guess, enemies. I don't know if that's the right word, if that characterizes them correctly, but, or not, and also maybe become, bonded by this new relationship.
Yeah.
So because, the biggest change comes with Serena, with her realizing and learning what she has done wrong and hopefully getting some redemption for that.
Right.
Maybe saying, I'm sorry to June for everything that I put you through. Because that would be awesome if we get to a point where she apologizes and asks for forgiveness.
Well,
That's what I would love.
And then the two of them could testify or something against Gilead. And then, because I feel like, the U.S. and Canada need to come after Gilead for human rights violations or something. And if you have both June and Serena willing to testify,
yeah,
that would be everything that we needed before and didn't have.
Right. Right. I think we got ahead of ourselves, but that's okay.
I know. Sorry.
We tend to do that. We're like, yeah, we're on a roll. So just to finish off this part of the episode, I do want to say that when they were getting to the train and June was getting on the train, I really liked that moment between her and Luke. I like that he made her go on the train and then they have that conversation on the phone. You know, she says, oh, no. She begs him so bad, you know, no, I need you. I can't do this again without you. I need you. We need you. I don't want to lose you. I love you. And then she says, you were always going to do this. Oh, man. And then
I have chills as you're saying it right now.
Yeah. And then I says, you know, come find me. Come find me. And then he, of course, raises his hand and gets arrested. And because he wants to give her that chance to be safe. And I thought, oh, that moment was just, I loved it. I really loved that moment. It's probably one of my favorite moments. And then I actually did like the train scene with her talking to the baby, trying to figure out what she's going to do in her mind. You can see her basically thinking, trying to just talk to the baby and then hearing a baby cry. And, you know, Serena saw her from afar, turned around, and Serena had, I think, was really happy to see her. Like she had this slight smile on her face. And then as they walked toward each other, she's all, hi, June. And she has like the smile on her face. Like she's so relieved, happy to see her. And then,
how interesting that Serena now also needs to run even from, you know, like from this new safe space.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, because she's not safe anywhere either. She's not safe in the United States. She's not safe, or Gilead, and she's not safe in Canada. Same thing with June. Neither one of them is safe in either territory. So it's like, okay, we're on the run together trying to do this.
Yeah.
So
we shall see.
I know. I also liked at the moment when June was, before they were on the run, when she started to see, when they found out that Luke was probably going to be arrested and he was going to face whatever he's going to face because the guy had died, that was the truck driver. I liked seeing June realize their situation and seeing how it was basically the same when they were in Boston and recognizing we got out too late then. We're not going to get out too late now. We're going to move now. Because Lucas said, well, we'll be okay. We'll do this. She's all, no. We waited too long and we're not going to get stuck in this. We're going. And I love that. I love that she could sense that and realize that and learn from that experience. And now she's putting it into motion here. So I just thought it was a really, really great episode. Is there anybody else that you want to touch upon? We didn't talk about Aunt Lydia and Janine, and actually those were really good moments. So both of them are changing so much. Janine is finally...
It's like she's growing up, you know?
Yeah. And what I love about her and what I think is just perfect is that she's not afraid anymore.
Yep.
She is like, I am just taking this as it is. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be in it. And that's the best way to be. That is the best way. It gives you so much power. She has so much power now that she's not fearful anymore.
And the way she acted in, you know, Lawrence's house, right? With now Lawrence marrying what's-her-face.
Putnam.
Yeah. To say all the right things and do all the right things. And then as soon as Aunt Lydia walks away, she lets her know, you know, like, you know, don't be fooled.
Yeah. We're not friends.
Right.
We've never been friends. What makes you think what you did to me was so evil and basically I hate you. So don't
exactly.
Don't think it's anything more than that. And even Aunt Lydia, okay, because I've hated Aunt Lydia, but I'm like, okay, she's changing too. I'm not sure how she's changing, but I love that she is taking care of Janine and wants what's best for Janine. And that when she thought Janine was going to die because Esther felt a betrayal because Esther wanted to follow what June had set forth and Janine wasn't following that, and Esther wasn't going to be any part of that. She had been raped.
Yep.
And pregnant, and said, heck no, I'm going to get rid of us. And it gives the poison. And so anyway, they're in the hospital, and then Lydia starts praying and saying, I'll change. I think that's what she said. And she said, just let her live, because she wanted Janine to live. And so I think she's of course, she's still following her religious ways, but
she's recognizing that there's something missing here in how they're, in air quotes, taking care of these girls.
Right, because she tells Commander Lawrence,
right,
well, let's not assign these women to a house. Let's let them just visit, which actually would take care of them, right? Because they wouldn't be raped on numerous occasions. Yeah, they would still have to go, serve their time there. And then Commander Lawrence is all, well, the commanders have their kinks. We got to keep them satisfied. I'm like, oh my God. Oh God.
Oh, Lord.
So, yeah. So anyways, we do see Aunt Lydia making some changes. She was mad. I mean, she was trying to get, when they were taking Janine off into that truck, and she was trying to say, where don't you take her? I'm calling Commander Lawrence. Or like, this was by Commander Lawrence's request, and then they push her down like this small woman.
Right.
And she gets up, but she's like, looks like she's ready to do something. I don't know what she's going to do, but she's ready.
Yeah. Maybe Aunt Lydia becomes the nanny, and wherever June and Serena end up, Aunt Lydia finds her way there and is the nanny. Right.
I don't know if I'd want her as a nanny.
I don't know.
She's still a little crazy, even though she's helping Janine, and I'm happy for that right now. She's still a little crazy. She's such a good actress.
Yes.
Ann Dowd. She's so good. She's so good at what she does. I love her. All right. Did you have anybody else you wanted to bring up? Or?
No.
Okay.
I'm excited for season 6. That's what I'll say.
I know. So we kind of already gave what we wanted to see in season 6, but I'm glad that there's a season 6. As you had read, that probably will be the final, or it is the final episode to tie this all up. So I can't wait for it. So what do you hope to see in this, in season 6?
Well, I feel like we already talked about it, right? Like these lives of Serena and June and what that ends up looking like, and Gilead going down for human rights violations. And I don't know. Let's see. And I'd like Luke to get off, that it was, justifiable, accidental, whatever. And I'd also like Nick to end up with them too.
I know.
Just a fairy tale ending.
Exactly. That's exactly what I want. I want a fairy tale ending too, right? And I want Luke to be able to escape.
How un-Handmaid's Tale.
And find them, and somehow they get Hannah back and Gilead falls. That would be my hope for all of this too. Okay, season 6, we're ready for you. All right. That wraps up our conversation on The Handmaid's Tale. So now we're going to switch gears and talk about a reality show called Love is Blind, season 3. So Nick and Vanessa Lachey host this social experiment, if you're not familiar with the show. And it's about single men and women who look for love. They date in these pods for 10 days. They get engaged before meeting in person. They spend about 4 weeks in the real world before heading to the altar and deciding if they will say, I do. And the show, it's very addicting. I do love how things move really quickly in the show. They don't drag it out and keep going over the same old thing. No. You learn within I think the second episode, who's one couple's already proposing and they see each other. And I love that. I'm like, yes, I don't have to wait. This is awesome. So I really do like that. Jen, what do you like about the show in general?
It's a different take on all of this, right? Like there are so many dating shows that are so similar. And so this really is a different approach. I do like that all of the people are from like a particular city. So when they leave, their lives are all in that city to some degree, you know?
Yeah.
So it entertains me. Do I think any of these couples are really going to last? Like, even from any of the other seasons? I doubt it. You know? Like, I think there's maybe one couple from season 1 or 2 that's still together, but it's entertaining. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, it is entertaining. I will say there's 2 couples from season 1 that are still together. In season 2, 2 got married. There's 5 couples that this basically follows.
Yeah.
So the first season, 2 couples got married. 2 couples are still together. And then in the second season, I hope I have that right on the I know for sure 2 couples are still together.
I feel like there was one couple that got divorced like during this season. From one couple from season 1 or 2 that got divorced while this was airing.
Yeah. Well, I know for sure 2 couples in season 2 got married, are both getting divorced.
Oh.
So season 2 has no wins, no wins, but season 1 has 2 that are still married. And I don't know if anybody else got married in season 1. I just know that those 2 did. And I really love that one couple. That's what made me keep watching it. I think it's, their names are Cameron and Lauren. They're on their 4th wedding anniversary. They're very cute together. I love seeing their journey. And then Amber and Matthew are the other couple and I thought they were an unlikely couple. I did not think they were going to make it. And that couple is, I guess, on their 4th anniversary too.
I mean, this season, I felt like I found some of the people painful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they all sort of started to grow on me in the end, but it was very weird. Like, yes, it moved quickly, but then there were times where I was watching an episode and I was like, this is dragging. I don't know why, you know?
Well, one of the couples for me, that was actually one of the couples that got married, which was Alexa and Brennan.
Yes.
They didn't really have very many conflicts. Well, and I'm not saying I want to see conflicts, but at the same time, I didn't want to see their story as much. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them. I think they're a great couple. I think the guy, Brennan, oh man, he is like a gentleman.
Yes.
And he adores her. And I loved that about them. I think he's a great guy. Even on the reunion, we saw what a gentleman he is.
Yes. And I give him a lot of credit for not being intimidated by her dad.
Yes.
All of these other things. And I give her a lot of credit for jumping into his family so graciously and genuinely just wanting to know them and be a part of their family and enjoy what they do. And, you know, I thought it was sweet. Yeah.
But they had the least amount of friction. It was like, okay, they're nice. Let's get to the next people.
Right.
I kept thinking to myself, all right, so who else do you want to talk about? Should we talk about Raven and SK?
All right. So in the pods, Raven was awful. Like, can you stop working out while this person on the other side of the wall is pouring their heart out to you? I
thought the same thing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, she's like exercising and he's telling you about this really emotional part of his life. And he's like waiting. He's all, are you exercising? Because he can hear her. And she's just all looking at her arm or whatever it was.
She was painful to me.
Yeah,
I will say.
Go ahead.
She was better when they got out.
Yes, totally.
I thought the way she embraced his culture and figured out a way to, you know, no pun intended, but marry her culture with his culture to create a wedding day. And I thought it was so sweet. And her relationship with his mother, like, warmed my heart, you know, like, they grew on me.
Yeah, they did too. I agree. I didn't like her at first. She grew on me. I changed my mind how I felt about her. I thought she was going to base things on looks. I really did.
Me too.
And she's such a pretty girl. But I thought she was a bit shallow because she wasn't listening. But then she did change, and she really appreciated him for who he was. I like that she wasn't even going to entertain Bartiste because that was the other person she was interested in. But I love that she's like, you're going to talk to me now that you can see me physically, because it wasn't working with us in the pods. It's not going to work with us now. So I really, she just went up a couple notches after hearing her say that. And just the way she talked on the reunion to the other women and being so supportive, and also how she handled, because they do go to the altar. And of course, we have already given spoilers here, but
I know.
She does say that she does want to marry SK, and SK is the one that says he doesn't. And I was really, really surprised. But I did think with him going to California for his
school
graduate degree, was going to be an issue. How can you go and she doesn't want to come with you? So I thought she was going to be the one to say no. I thought she and her friends were not for all of this.
I think she wants to be taken care of, right? So this was also sort of a little bit of my beef with her. But, I felt like she made a comment to him of like, you might be going to California, but you should be paying for our home here that I'm living in, even though you're in California. I was like, girl, please. Like, you better just stop talking.
Yeah.
So I feel like she just wanted to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm. But she was willing to go. Yeah. And then her family, the family kept saying, oh, as a wife, you need to, make sure he's fed and taken care of and all. She's just like, I don't cook. I don't know if she does it, but I got that impression.
Right. But I thought they were so cute. I give her credit for then saying to him, oh, they were saying all these things. And she was like, do you want that? And he was like, oh, this is what, or whatever. Like, the way she handled that with him, I thought was good.
Yeah. And I love that at the reunion, it was announced that they are rekindling their relationship, right? Because really, to stand up there at that altar and say no, because people don't really know what's going to be said. You have all your family, your friends, people come, they're invested in, of course, you, and they're there. And then one person says maybe no. Holy crap. That's really humiliating and embarrassing and emotional. So the fact that they can reconnect again, I'm happy for them. I'm happy that they're revisiting that relationship. Okay, so let's talk about Nancy and Bartiste, because, oh man, I don't know. What do you think about them?
Bartiste is a child.
Yeah.
He's just
and he is 20. Was he 25 or 26? And she's 31.
Which is not that crazy of an age difference, but he is a child.
Yeah. What's interesting is that he is very charismatic when he talks.
Yeah.
And, that's why Nancy was taken by him. That's why Raven was taken by him.
And I give her credit for not entertaining any continuation of her relationship.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, how could she? Because at the reunion, she says the next day she saw him with this blonde woman, but she could have been blinded by love if she really did care about him. But her family, holy crap.
Oh my goodness. But I will say, I do think while they were the 4 weeks when they're back home, in air quotes, and living in the same apartment, they talked about some things that I think people never talk about. And I give them a lot of credit for that. And each having different opinions and listening to each other and sort of understanding where the other one is coming from. Why they brought his family into that conversation is weird, but whatever.
Yeah. I loved Nancy's stance on what she said. Yes. I loved how she could articulate how she felt and her thoughts. I loved seeing that. Even him. Okay. Yeah. Just him being able to say how he felt. I loved their relationship with those subjects. Like I found their conversations very interesting, and I wanted to hear what they each had to say. And so I just thought he was painfully honest when it came to talking about Raven.
Mm-hmm.
You don't talk that way in front of a woman that
But to me, that's the immaturity piece of it.
Yes, that you're dating or that you love. Yeah.
Not caring enough to have some boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was, I don't know. That was an interesting relationship. So, okay. So let's get to Colleen and Matt.
Ugh.
Now,
sorry.
Oh, that says a lot. I'm very curious to hear what you have to say, but I'm going to say when they were together, the second episode there, I think they were one of the first people that decided to get married and see each other. And because I didn't care for her originally, she seemed very shallow, like no one could get in.
Also a child.
Yeah, they couldn't get into her. I think, was it Bartiste or somebody else? Somebody else was dating her at one point, and they were trying to get questions out of her, like, let's dig a little deeper. And she saw, no, it was Cole. It was Cole. And she says, oh, I don't want to talk about that. That's not how I.
Right. She's like, I don't talk
about
those
relationships.
Things.
I'm like, what?
That's the thing. She's also such a child.
Yeah. That's what you do. You talk about these things to figure out if you mesh with each other.
Right.
Yeah, be with this person. But when they first saw each other and the way that they looked at each other and were so happy with each other, I cried. I actually cried.
Wow.
Tears. Yes.
Okay.
I'm like, oh,
she just annoyed me the whole time. Just felt so childish. And like, their final date before the weddings in like the Shark Tank, when they were at the aquarium.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And he's like, say it. And it was like, okay, can you guys just if you can't even have this conversation, like this isn't going to work. But they did.
Yeah. They are getting a lot of heat, and I feel bad for them because people in the public are so critical.
Yes.
And they're getting heat because they feel like he's like explosive and hovering over her. But okay, this is edited, people, for one, right? We're only seeing what we see. And I like that she came back and told him how she was feeling about those moments. She's you keep running. You keep just like kind of exploding and running. Can't do this. I need to know you're going to be there. So it's also a learning thing.
And I thought too
about each other.
At the reunion, the way he sort of talked about how hardworking she is and everything she does, like I saw more at the reunion from them that made me feel better about their, for whatever my 2 cents
relationships.
Are worth.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that part. So that's so true. But she said also at the reunion, because then people were giving them heat about like, oh, he was hovering over her. He wasn't letting her talk. She looked like she's upset. Is she okay? And then she came out and said, look, there's a lot of negativity that was said to me. And I was just hearing about it right before I went on to this show. And so you may have seen that on my face, right?
Yeah.
But we are living our lives. We're happy together. We love each other. So, I mean, hopefully that's all true. And I'm taking for their relationship as they tell us, because that's all we can really do. And we'll see where they go. The only interesting thing was that they weren't living together yet because they're trying to end their leases and not have to double pay things. So we'll see. We'll see where they end up and go. But at least their families seem to be okay on board. And that's a big thing. It really is. If you have your family backing you,
right,
then that is a step in the right direction. So,
yeah.
Okay. So then let's talk about Zeneb and Cole. Oh man. You go because I don't know.
Okay. We need more time than we have to get into Zeneb and Cole. I have so many mixed feelings and so many mixed
mixed
thoughts.
I do too.
There were times where I felt Cole was such a child, and other times where I thought Zeneb was out of control.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree.
And there were moments where I loved their dynamic and moments where I wanted to like push both of them in a closet and close the door.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
You know, I can appreciate how insecure she felt given this one conversation with Cole and Colleen.
Yeah.
But after that point, I felt like Cole did nothing but reassure her of his attraction to her. And she then had this bug in her head. And no matter what he said, she was going to interpret it in not the way that he intended it.
I so agree, Jen. I'm so glad that you voiced it that way because I don't know. I kept thinking, am I thinking something wrong?
No, this whole cuties. And also in the work that I do a lot with eating disorders, disordered behavior, food issues. Like I get this world.
Yeah.
You know?
But I thought the same, but then I thought, are they editing it so it does, maybe because at first he was a jerk. You were a jerk, but you admitted you were a jerk. And then as he looked at her, as he danced with her, as he did these things with her, as he said, no, you look so good in this outfit, meaning, I mean, not physically. Yeah, physically, but not like her body image, just, you know, that he was trying to reassure her, I do love you and I love the way you look.
And then it didn't matter. I mean, it was like...
It didn't. And then she was like nagging at him. I'm like, oh my God. And the problem is she doesn't see her nagging at all.
Yes.
Like she said, oh yeah, you put that clip together. It doesn't look good. I can see that. But you are treating him like a child and you can't treat a partner like a child. That's not going to, not that way, not telling them everything that they do, how to do it. That's not going to work. So I felt bad at the altar when she said everything she did, because I do feel like it was, planned in a way. And I do feel like he was blindsided.
I agree. Because I don't understand why that was the first time she's saying these things to him.
Yeah.
Right? I can appreciate that it might take some time to gather your thoughts and gather your courage to say to the person, those comments make me feel this way.
Yeah.
But if you're working on gathering your thoughts and the courage to say them, then the appropriate moment is not in front of every person on their wedding day. That was absolutely cruel.
Yeah, I thought it was too, especially in front of his family and loved ones. If you care about this person, yes, you should always stand up for yourself and always say what you need to.
But it didn't need to happen in front of everyone. She could have done that before. So. And I didn't like how that played out at all.
I didn't either. And I'm, like I said, I'm glad that you,
and I'm glad they played that cuties footage, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I felt like his comment of like, oh, are you trying to get like, you know, wedding dress ready or whatever? I thought he's trying to understand why she's hyper aware. Like he was genuinely confused.
Yes.
And thought, oh, people do that. Maybe that's what you're doing. Not saying you need to do this.
Well, and I read an article that took what they said, but they only put like 2 lines. And again, it made him look like he was commenting like, oh, you shouldn't eat that. But if you look at the whole footage, he even says, you only ate a banana? I offered you a poke bowl. So why would he say that? And why would he offer her food if he didn't want her to eat it? Right. So that is not, I feel like they're trying to convey a certain thing and put out only what makes it sound bad. But to me, looking at that footage, there was nothing wrong with their I didn't think there was anything wrong with their
listen, I didn't love that he asked her, are you bipolar? That was inappropriate. But I also think
inappropriate.
But I also think he was trying to crack a joke to lighten the mood, maybe. I don't know. But that's also not a joke. But like,
right.
He's also 12 too. So like, I don't know. I mean,
12. I love that. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Not really, but kind of, you know.
Yeah.
But all of it,
yes. And I do think that he knows because I hate it when people go on there and they're just like, don't think that anything they did was wrong, which is her in a way.
Yes.
But with him, I do feel like he is taking this and trying to learn from it. And I hope he does.
I agree.
I hope he does.
I felt like at the reunion, he had really owned his stuff and was so still genuinely hurt at how she handled it. And I don't blame him for a second.
Yeah. Oh, man. Did you see Lizzo? She has TikToks about this.
No, what'd she do? I keep thinking I want to do a cuties thing.
She started to do a cuties, but then she said, I can't do it right now because it's controversial. And so she's waiting. So I was really curious to see what she was going to do. But
the funniest thing about it is that in my old Weight Watchers days a million years ago, I feel like a serving of those things was 3.
Hers the ones she had were bigger. Like cuties are tiny. They're like the tiniest thing. I'm sorry. Cuties aren't going to keep you over.
Please don't even get me started.
Yeah. But
anyway.
Yeah.
I do love this show. I am curious. This is my question. In the contracts that they have to sign.
Yeah.
Like for Zenith and Cole, for example, if she knew that she was going to say that, can you have this conversation before standing up there? Like in their contracts, do they have to wait until that? Like, do we have to have an altar scene? Like, do you not get paid if you don't?
I think so. Yeah, right. I think so because, maybe Nancy and Batiste wouldn't have happened that way either. I don't know. Right. I thought something was going to get physical there with the brother.
The brother.
He was like pissed. He was so mad.
Which part of it I loved and part of it was like, whoa.
Yes, I agree. I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh no, please back down. But then I was like, but then afterwards I'm like, okay, I could see it. You know, it's her sister. He's very protective of her. So.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Good show. Season 3. We'll see. We'll see what happens if there's a season 4. Oh man. Well, Jen, thank you. Thank you for joining me and talking about these 2 shows that we love to watch.
Thanks for having me. I will talk about any show we watch with you anytime, always. I appreciate it. So thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. I love having you. Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah. My podcast, wherever you're listening now, my podcast is Salad with a Side of Fries. And all social media, I am Jenn Trepeck, JENN-TREPECK.
Awesome. And I'll have that in our show notes. Please be sure to look up Jenn Trepeck and Salad with a Side of Fries podcast. All right. That's our show. Thanks for tuning in. We are grateful you tuned in, and we hope something that we said today resonated with you, gave you a chuckle, some happiness, some positivity, or inspiration. Please subscribe to our website, screensinfocus.com, and tell a friend. We would love more members of our TV club. You can find our website listed in our show notes. We'll see you next time. Bye.